Hey, I'm Matt, and I'm headed to work. Today I was going to talk about the OU Alabama game, but then I got on Facebook. And there was a post on a group on Facebook. The group, okay, if you don't know, I'm a prepper. Okay, I don't believe the world's gonna end. None of that stuff. I believe it could happen, but I don't. It's not like I'm like, this is gonna happen. No, I'm not doomsday prepper. I know that it's just as likely for me to lose my job as it's probably more likely for me to lose my job than for a civil war to break out. It's more likely for a vehicle to break down and have to have money to fix it and not have money, for food per se, or, stuff like that. Anything can be a quote-unquote SHTF situation. Google that. Yeah. So anything could be that. I know it's just as likely for my vehicle to break down on the side of the road with nobody around. So that's the type of stuff I prep for. I also live in the middle of Tornado Alley. So we have our go bags or bug out bags or emergency kits, whatever you want to call them, that anytime we shelter for a tornado, we grab. So, stuff like that. Also, it's winter. We do get ice storms here in Oklahoma, and there's a very good chance of losing power during those ice storms. That's the type of stuff I prep for. Okay, but in the group called Prepping for SHTF, I'll go ahead and give it to you. Language warning, 3, 2, 1. SHTF stands for shit hit the fan. Okay? An SHTF situation, it has been adopted in the prepper community instead of saying apocalypse, because apocalypse is a pretty narrow term that means the world's ending. Instead of saying disaster, because a disaster, that tends to be a big event, but an SHTF situation is just anything that happens that's pretty much unexpected that it's good to be ready for. Okay, so in this group called Preparing for SHTF, someone said, hey, where's a good place to buy MRE'S? And then the comments were like, don't buy MRE'S, they'll make you fat. MRE'S will make you fat. And I just commented, I was like, hey, MRE'S are designed for combat use when you have hundreds of pounds of gear on you, little sleep, you're having to be in peak physical form, and that's when they're eaten 2 or 3 times a day. Twice a day or 3 times a day, MRE'S. For civilian use, and even when I was in the Marine Corps, just to graduate boot camp, we, actually it was a 1.5, we went for the Crucible, for Marine Corps Crucible, we went 52 hours, which is just over 2 days, with, I believe, 5 hours of sleep, and you and your bunkmate, which there's a top bunk and a bottom bunk. We didn't, not bunkmate like this, bunkmate like bottom rack, top rack. Okay, you and your bunkmate were given 3 MRE'S. Okay, you each got 1 whole MRE, and then you got to split that third MRE. I know now you get something like 2 or 3 MREs for that, but back when I graduated from boot camp in the year 2000, oh my goodness, so long ago, when I graduated boot camp in the year 2000, during the Crucible, you got 1.5 MREs. Okay, 1.5 MREs. That's what you got. We did also get a wet hot, which the wet hot was just basically they'd come up and it would be like a broth. It was wet and it was hot. We got that one night, a wet hot. It was, yeah, basically like a broth. You took your canteen cup up there, didn't even fill it up. It was like halfway, and you got that. It was like a salty broth, and the salt was to kind of help with moisture retention. But of course, we got tons of water. That's a given. But yeah, Crucible, 52 hours. 52 hours. We had 1.5 MREs. Marched, 40 something to 50 something miles in that 52 hours. I mean, it was an absurd amount of miles. Not only that, we had physical tests, like tests when there was a combat casualty. One guy had to carry that guy, another guy had to carry that guy's gear to the next obstacle. We had physical obstacles, we had mental obstacles, we had team obstacles we had to go through. And we got about 5 hours of sleep on 1.5 MREs. It was fine. At the end of all that, we did get the Warriors breakfast, which there were guys who ate so much food that they were puking on the march back. Oh, now you want to speed up. Now you want to speed up. But yeah. So just to graduate boot camp, we had to go 52 hours with 1.5 MREs. Okay. An MRE, they're on average around 1,800 calories. And I made the comment on there that one MRE can get you through one day. Or can and will get you through one day. And the guy was like, no, that's if you're just sitting still not doing anything. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to be Rambo out fighting and doing all that stuff? I'm like, isn't this prepared for SHTF situation, which is like something happened, you know, and you're worried about getting fat? And the argument persisted to the point where they deleted the thread. Okay, so I then took it upon myself to share these views. That, you know, MREs were designed for combat. MREs are a tool. They are a wide range in the container. They're watertight. They're airtight. They have a shelf life of 5 years, even though I haven't eaten MREs older than 5 years, and I'm perfectly fine. Well, that's debatable. But I did not have any ill effects from the MREs. I've eaten MREs, and I've seen people on YouTube eat MREs that are well beyond 5 years. Okay, as long as they're kept in a cool, dry place, everything's gonna be fine. They're kept out of direct sunlight. They're kept out of. Basically, if you keep them inside your house, they're gonna be fine. And I put that they can and will get you through one day. And in fact, my bug out bag or my go kit or disaster kit or whatever you want to call it, bug out bags are designed for 3 days. I have 3 MREs. I have 3 MREs in that kit because 1 per day. That's how you do it. And in that thing, when I shared that, a guy commented that he was in Desert Storm and Iraqi Freedom, and he was support, and he said they were issued 1 MRE a day while they were setting up the camp until the chow hall got set up. 1 MRE a day. And he said it was fine. Nobody had any ill effects from it. And that's what I was trying to say. And I was trying to say, everyone wants to eat like kings in an SHTF situation. Okay? The amount of food you will have to store for that is absurd. And my thing is, the most important things. Okay, let's look at the rule of 3. Okay, the rule of 3. 3 minutes without air. 3 hours without shelter, which depends on the climate you're in, which all these are dependent. I mean, yeah, if you get punched in the chest and then thrown underwater, you're probably going to die faster than 3 minutes. But as a general rule, a baseline, okay, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food is a baseline. A baseline. Because I even shared that, and a guy was like, oh my goodness, you couldn't live 3 weeks without food. Maybe if you're just sitting there waiting to get rescued. And I brought up the thing, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a baseline. It's a baseline to go by. The rule of 3 is a baseline to go by. You know? Yeah. You're not gonna last 3 hours without shelter during a tornado. Not gonna happen. So it's a baseline to go by. And, you know, people, when they think about prepping, they're thinking about Civil War breaking out, everything shutting down. They're thinking about post-apocalyptic movies, The Road Warrior, you know, all that. They're thinking about everything, just worst case scenario. And I'm like, okay, isn't an SHTF situation, you know, a job loss? Isn't an SHTF situation a power outage? Isn't an SHTF situation you're on vacation and you're driving cross country and you turn down a road and your car breaks down and you're out in the middle of nowhere? Isn't that an SHTF situation? And, you know, in any SHTF situation, the most important things, the two single most important things are knowledge and experience. Okay? And you need to prioritize your survival needs. Your survival needs: water, shelter. Okay. Water, shelter. Oh crap, I had all these worked out. Water, shelter, security, fire. There was one more. Water, shelter, security, fire. Or let's just go with those 4. And medical. Those are the 5 single most important things in a survival situation. Those five are the most important. Where knowledge and experience come in. Okay, knowledge comes in. You have to know how to find good water or how to make good water. Okay? You have to know, because there are more than one way to do that. You have to know how to find shelter or build an adequate shelter. You have to know how to provide your own security. You have to know how to, you have to know how to treat medical issues that'll come up. And you have to know how to build a fire. Okay? That's where knowledge comes in. You have to know how to do those things. Where experience comes in is you have to be able to do those things when everything's going sideways. You know, you don't know what's up, what's down. You know, you have a broken arm and you have to know how to find water. You know, that's where the experience comes in. That you can do it in the worst possible scenario. Okay? You can build a fire when everything around you is wet. It is possible. I've done it. Matter of fact, with my buddies in the survival punk group, I built a fire after someone turned on water and it flooded the wood we gathered for the fire, because it was at a campsite and the fire pit was at a low area of the campsite, and they turned on the water to rinse their feet off. Serenity. And it flooded the wood. And I made a fire with the wet water. I did. So, yeah, I'm the type of guy who's in the woods with a 6-foot cutout of Count cardboard cutout of Count Dracula and starts a fire with a road flare. Yeah. But, oh, it's getting hot. But yeah, you have to have the knowledge of those things, and you have to have the experience, and you get experience from going in your backyard, making a fire. Researching medical things and practicing them. You have that. That's where the experience comes in. Okay? I'm not saying you have to be an expert level surgeon. You have to be a surgeon. I'm not saying that. Just know what to do when everyone else is freaking out. That's the experience. Okay? Train. Just train. Not all the time, but go through a CPR course, which I do. Stuff like that. And MRE'S, they are a tool. Okay? And I do have a vast storage of survival food. I do have food pantry or survival supply of food, or food storage. I do have a vast supply, and it is varied, just like any of your preps should be. Have different ways to make fire. Okay, have different ways to make water. In my bag, I carry the water purification tablets. Okay, you can also purify water with fire, and know different places and ways to get fire. As a matter of fact, that's someone commenting on that group, that post I made in that group, and people are arguing about that. But know different ways to do things. So don't put all your eggs in one basket with anything. Just like food, people are like anti-MRE. Well, you know what? My food storage, I have MREs. I have freeze-dried food. I have survival bars. I also have protein bars that you can get any place in here. I have number 10 cans of freeze-dried food. I have individual pouches of freeze-dried food. Okay? I have not just MREs, but I have just entrees of MREs. And one thing that makes MREs a great survival thing, you don't have to heat it up. You don't have to do anything to it. Like freeze-dried food, you have to hydrate it. Okay? You have to heat it up. You have to hydrate it. With MREs, you don't have to do any of that. You can open it and eat it. Just like the survival bars, ration bars that come in a brick. You could just eat those. Okay? Have different types, different ways. And not only that, I have canned goods in my survival food. I have canned goods. And in my bags, I have them all bagged up to where if we have to grab them, we can just grab them. They're not all sitting there. And in each bag, I have a can opener, and I have a pocket knife, and I have a way to make fire in each bag. In my bug out bag, I have a can opener. I don't have any canned goods in my bug out bag, but if it's really a post-apocalyptic scenario where you're having to scrounge for food, a can opener come in handy. You find a canned good. It's like, oh crap, I can't eat that because I don't have a can. Or you have to waste time fighting to get the can open, when all you can do is get a can opener, pop it open, and you're good. Okay? In my bug out bag, I have 5 different ways to make fire. 5 different ways to make fire. So, just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have different ways to do things. I have several different versions of food. Okay, I have water in several different forms. I have one of those 65-gallon water bobs to put in the bathtub and fill up with water. I have gallons of water. I have cases of water. I have quart things of water. I have the Coast Guard approved water pouches. I have those, which I put a couple of those in each MRE after I field strip it. Okay, I have different forms of security. of course, I do own firearms. Those are a form of security. I also have knives, which are tools. And in my bug out bag, I carry a machete, but also a stick could be security. A security could also be a trip line. Or security could be a line with a couple tin cans on it to alert you when somebody's coming close. Okay? Security could be camouflage. And I also have different forms of shelter in my bug out bag. I have an emergency tent. I also have clothes in there. Clothing could be a shelter. Wool blankets. A wool blanket could be a shelter. I also have those Mylar blankets. The silver space age blanket. I have those. I also have a Mylar sleeping bag. I also have a military 3-part sleeping system. That's shelter. Okay? All that stuff could be shelter. Like I said, I have 5 different ways to make fire. Also, in my bug out bag, I have different forms of food. I have protein bars. I have MRE'S. I even have a couple of those freeze-dried meals in there. Because it lasts 3 days, but I had room and things weren't too heavy in my bug out bag. So I threw those in there. Like I said, I have protein bars, a couple candy bars, stuff like that. I also have candles. I have a flashlight, extra batteries. I have medical supplies. Also, a belt could be a medical supply for a tourniquet. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't do it. Okay, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't sit there and say, oh, I'm good because I have the Wise freeze-dried food and that's good. Okay, what if you can't boil water? What if you can't boil water? And in my house, if we have a power outage, I have lanterns, I have candles, I have flashlights, I have batteries, which every single flashlight we own, my son Ronnie gets a hold of and usually loses them with them on. And so none of them work. That's why I have batteries hidden. Lanterns, the Kim lights or glow sticks, as y'all call them. I have propane heater. I have propane lanterns. I have an oil cook stove. Camping stove. I also have 2 gas grills with full propane tanks. I also have a charcoal grill. I also have a fire pit in my backyard. Our oven went out just before Christmas, which we rent, and legally by law they do not have to provide an oven and stove for you. We were just fine because we have an electric 2-plate what's it called, like a hot plate or stovetop, an electric that we can plug into the wall. We also have a toaster oven and also have a countertop oven, which we can cook stuff like pizzas and stuff like that in. So, crock pot, those are different ways to cook. So if the power goes out, we can cook on the the camping stove. We can cook on that. I can cook on 2 propane grills with full propane tanks. I have a smoker. I now have a smoker. I haven't used it yet, but I have a smoker. I have a grill, a charcoal grill. I also have a fire pit I can cook on. So what I'm saying is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay? Because what are you going to do if all your eggs in one basket and the bottom of that basket falls out? That's a metaphor. So don't come arguing, being like, why would I carry eggs in a basket? It's a metaphor. Okay? It's saying have a backup for your backup, but don't make your backups the exact same thing as what is backing up. Okay? Like for fire, I have road flares. I have a lighter. People might say, those are cheating. Okay. Is the prepper police, when I get in a car wreck, somewhere, I'm stuck out in the middle of the woods, I have a broken arm and a broken leg, and I can't sit there and do a bow drill to start a fire, are they going to say I'm cheating if I take out a road flare and start a fire with that? The prepper police will be like, nope, you're done. You're not going to survive because you cheated to make a fire. Okay? I have a ferro rod. I have road flares in my bug out bag. I have a lighter. I have matches. Okay? I have matches. I have, what is that? I also have, like I said, candles. I also have the knowledge to do a bow drill. I have cotton balls that I've soaked in Vaseline as tinder. I also have a magnifying glass in there to make fire. I also have batteries I could use to make fire. I also have like the flint from a lighter, but it's not a lighter, it's an actual thing, a flint with wheel that you can get a spark. I have that. Actually, I have more than 5 ways to make a fire. So I have all those ways I can make fire in my bug out bag. Okay? I also have knowledge on how to make a fire without any of those things. So yeah. All right, well, I'm at work. So what I'm trying to say is, go with what you know, but try to know what you don't know. Oh, that's deep. Oh, that is deep. Go with what you know, but also try to know what you don't know so you can go with what you know even more. A lot of gray hairs, but that is deep. That's deep. That's a message.